Our next speaker is Jonathan Hobday from Cortex. Jonathan is a senior executive at Cortex and a member of IET, a fellow of the Chartered Management Institute and a chartered engineer. Prior to Cortex, Jonathan spent 28 years in the enterprise software industry. Formerly trained in cybernetics and control systems, Jonathan provides thought leadership for automation based on a deep understanding of cybernetics, control systems, and process engineering. Today, he'll be talking to us about a topic that I know will be at the very top of many of your agendas, and that's understanding the return on investment for artificial intelligence.
Hi. First, I'd like to thank you for attending this session, delving deeper in to reveal a better understanding of how predictable ROI is delivered in AI and IA. For those that don't know me, I lead commercial strategy and engagement for Cortex. At Cortex, we have developed a highly effective intelligent automation software platform by combining intelligent technologies with automation engines through orchestration with human and machine interfaces. For those that do know us, this session should give you a best practice in building the business case to deploy Cortex. As a company, our core focus is capturing and applying the hundreds of man-years of knowledge over 27 years of advanced research into the Cortex software, and then formulating the right strategies and methodologies to ensure your success. And this is the focus of today, to share our experiences in successful strategies, effective methodologies, and most importantly, to realistically quantify the value of artificial intelligence and intelligent automation. A rapidly growing number of people believe that AI will transform at least 25% of the workforce in the next decade. And that's according to McKinsey's research. The USA is going to hire skilled staff to populate these roles, and Europe is going to retrain current staff. Who knows? Whoever gets this right, it will lead to a major disruption in business operations. And we have seen this firsthand in most of our clients. Artificial intelligence is coming, but it's a lot slower than you might think. Most of the stunning, bleeding edge capabilities that we see demonstrated today produce very risky outcomes or sit in novel use cases which have questionable business value. However, the mainstream AI technology has no infrastructure on which it can be effectively implemented so that we can guarantee that ROI. Much like a self-driving car, achieving the goal requires intelligent decision-making, but it also requires sensing of the environment, a context in which it can operate, goals against which it can analyze the situation and evaluate decisions, and then, only then, does it require a platform to automate actions. And as Microsoft and Facebook have recently found, chatbots are not necessarily all good value. And other great innovations are playing games well, but fail the business case test. The biggest challenge is that businesses are not a fixed product in which we can build a constrained AI. They're an ever-changing dynamic mashup of markets, customers, products, finance, risk, innovation, etc. And AI needs to scale. And the platform to scale AI is automation. I recently heard from a global consulting firm who claims to have a leading deployment of automation with over 300 in development and over 100 in production. Well, with Cortex, our clients are deploying over 1,000 flows per implementation and running millions of times per day. So let's look at what it is we're trying to do with AI and IA. Fundamentally, we're trying to get machines to do what people do. So let's have a look at what people do. People tend to work in what we call workflows. In those workflows, they do tasks, they execute functions against resources, whether that be systems, and often we're building those functions into those systems today, or people, actors, services, whatever there may be. But they're doing a lot more. In those workflows, they're making decisions, they're evaluating situations, they're taking actions based on that situation, they're holding that context, much like that self-driving car. So there's a lot more technology than just the action technology, just the automation platform. If we look at how we group these, we tend to limit these by people's capability, whether that be skills, knowledge, or resources. So how do we get machines to do this stuff? Well, there's a lot of capabilities there, and not all of them we have technologies for today. But there are some core technologies. Forget those leading edge ones, but there's core technologies in AI we can use right now today to apply to that evaluation, that decision making, that analysis. Typically, we see automation technologies that you'll see in the market will have a level of what we could arguably call AI. It's logic, 2 plus 2, if this then that. That is a form of AI. It's a very, very low level, and it's not commonly known as AI, but it does make automation intelligent. It enables them to make decisions. However, you may find there's a number of vendors out there that will try and convince you that putting some of the more advanced AI and plugging it into that automation will enable you to achieve your goal. But as you'll see from this visual, that there are some gaps in that. The first thing is, we don't have all the technology today. We don't have anywhere near all the AI technology to be able to replace a human being. So, listening to the popular news about machines are going to take my job, it's not true. They can't. But we need people to be able to interact with machines. So we need that human-machine interface. And you need to be able to bring that experience and the human reasoning over and above AI to be able to deal with those exceptions, the things the machines can't deal with. And also AI is driven by different goals. They're not always exact. They're not always specific outcomes you're looking for. Sometimes it's a goal or an objective which may or may not actually ever be achieved. But you're constantly seeking that goal. And that's really where we get into that higher level probabilistic technology. And we're a little bit intolerant of that. To bring all that together, you need to orchestrate. Now, orchestrate is not integration. Not how a lot of vendors may tell you. We just need integration. We just need to talk to third-party systems. We need to talk to IBM Watson. We need to talk to your chatbot. It's not true. You need to orchestrate. Orchestrate is integration driven by decision, not by action. It's the integration equivalent of AI, not the integration equivalent of automation. So how does that map back into our people cycle? Because people are currently doing these jobs. People are struggling to keep up with the digital age. They're struggling to keep up with the speed of business. We already see a lot of activity going on in digitalizing business, capturing the knowledge, turning it into digital information. And that's absolutely fundamental. You can't automate with current machines unless it's digitalized. And we have a lot of action technology, a lot of automation. We already see that in applications. We already see that in automation technologies. That's below the line, as we call it. The powerful stuff is above the line. It's the intelligence piece, sometimes called AI. And again, for those that know me, they'll know that I don't like the term AI because it's too generic. It doesn't describe what we do. It's machine intelligence. It's the intelligence that a machine has that can make decisions. It's the analyzing of that digitalized information to find out that context. It's the reasoning to make those decisions so that we can take the right actions. And then it's the sensing of those actions so that we can reanalyze and ensure that the action that we took achieved the right objective or created the right outcome. Let's cut to the chase. Let's look at the ROI. Now we understand that we need intelligent automation. You've got to build on the infrastructure of automation to build in the intelligence, achieving those goals. Very simply, we can do what people do. So we just need to count the people, work out what they do, take the proportion of the activities that they do, and then we can create a financial business case. We can create the complete business case. Following the standard format: executive summary, situation, current state, Current challenges, just need a proposal, work out that ROI, we can stick it in front of the CFO, he will love us, we've got a project. So to take an example with a typical IT service desk in a medium large organization, say 20,000 tickets a month, take the top 5, we'll automate those, we'll use intelligence to make all that decision making, we'll start replacing people entirely because we've got intelligent automation, not just automation. We're not just automating the action, the tasks, the functions, we're going to automate the evaluation and the decision making as well. And with that, we'll increase to machine speed. At machine speed, a 9-hour task, which has been waiting for someone in a queue for most of the time, will take 27 minutes. A 4-hour task will take 12 minutes. And with that, we can start building our business case. And that kind of business case looks like this. 279% ROI over 3 years, 203% in the first year. We're a winner. Any CFO will look at that, give you the approval, rock on. However, I'll guarantee you won't deliver that. I'll guarantee that is the last project you put in front of the CFO and get approval for, because you will not deliver that ROI. So why? Fundamentally, you've focused on the wrong thing. Facts are 72% of automation projects fail to deliver the benefits that they set out for. You will probably be one of those 72%. That's 2/3 of projects. You have a 2 out of 3 chance of failing. And that's why I say that will be the last time that you go in front of that CFO. As a result, how many people would do it again? Well, it turns out that 1 in 2 might have a second chance. So first off, you're 2/3 likely to fail. Second off, you've only got a 1 in 2 chance of getting there a second time round. And here's the weird thing. Only 14% of people blame poor technology. It's the ROI. It's the belief from your CFO that this is the right thing to do. And it's not just me saying that. You can look at surveys. We've done our own survey in 2014, showed these issues. Gartner did one in 2016, reflected pretty much the same numbers. And the AIIA have done one this year. And again, greater confidence in technology. So the technology is getting better. Overall cost savings, not 279%, 20%. The stats show us that you're likely to go wrong with that kind of business case. But you're actually working against some really well-known principles. Paretos Principle is one of the ones that prevails. If we look at the service desk, it's a very good example. Only 20% of the tickets require 80% of the work. So 80% of the tickets require 20% of the work. And you're always going to pick the easy ones, the top 5, the ones that are regularly done. And there's another way to look at this, which is Parkinsons Law. If you free up those people, Parkinsons Law says that the amount of time that one has to perform a task is the amount of time it will take to complete. It's basically, you'll fill the space that's given to you. So if you've got 40 people on a service desk, you'll still have 40 people on a service desk. There will be no headcount reduction. So what will they be doing? Well, if you look at it the other way around, 20% of the tickets are kind of 80% of the quantity, but they only require 20% of the effort because they're regularly done. And quantity is always proportional to quality, because the more often you do things, the better you are at it. And the better you are at it, the more you know it. So when someone comes to you and says, as a guy on the service desk, what can we automate? Which ones do you think of first? The things you do every day. The things that are easy, the things you know. So you do the simple stuff. The complicated stuff, the complex stuff that's too hard to think about and involves too many people might only be 20% of the tickets, but it takes 80% of your time. So what happens when you automate? Well, in fact, what happens is you don't reduce headcount in the first round normally. You improve quality, you improve accuracy, which has a direct effect on customer satisfaction. It often has a direct effect on your business, improving revenue, improving profitability. Your customers are happy, you get more business. That's an indirect and soft effect. But what you've automated will just shift the effort into the remainder. Your 100% of effort is now being focused on that 80%. So not only is your automated stuff now 100% accurate, but the remainder that was probably being neglected. You're also fighting against other well-known laws, law of demand. If you automate stuff, you reduce the cost of doing it. So let's take a simple IT service desk, password reset. If it's so much easier, you'll resort to that more often. And one of my personal favourites, Douglas Hofstadter, for those psychologists in the audience, it always takes longer than you expect, even when you take into account Hofstadter's law. So, why is this? What is actually going on, and how do we approach this to get this right? So where's the solution then if we know that that's the wrong way to approach it? Well, forgetting the digitalization and the automation, because no doubt most people listening here will have already done a lot of digitalization, a lot of automation. If you haven't, that's your first step. That's the platform on which you can use AI. Forget AI until you have achieved that level. So that's below the line. Above the line, we tend to be using people because we've got brains. Now we need to replace some of those brains, that thinking, analysis, decision making, with machines. What are we replacing? Well, as I mentioned earlier, we're doing the simple stuff. So let's embrace that. To embrace that, we need to break down what is the simple stuff. It's not all of what we do. It is that 20%. It is that top 5. It's the stuff we know. It's the stuff we can go and speak to someone and say, how do you do that? And they can tell us. Once we've got that off the table, then we can start looking at the more complicated stuff. And this is really where some of the more advanced technologies come into play. And even at this level, it tends to be things like analytics, expert systems, reasoning. That's way before you get to some of the latest technologies. If we look at building the business case again, it's slightly different. First thing, we have to understand our objectives. And we would always encourage you not to look at cost reduction and headcount reduction in phase 1. That will come, but not in phase 1. And if you promise it in phase 1, your CFO will never let you get to phase 2. Break it down into at least those 3 phases: simple, complicated, and complex. Build your business case based on phase 1 and quantify phase 1. Put what you know in phase 1. Put what you think you might know in phase 2. Don't try and go and find out that stuff. And then phase 3, either if you know what it is, but don't know how you're going to do it, that goes in phase 3. Absolutely budget for a transformation program. Doesn't have to be heavy. It can be one person leading who just has meetings with individuals to encourage them to think about their role in the future and what they're going to be doing. People have a tendency to resort to fear. If you don't have the transformation program, people will immediately focus on that part of the job that you're automating with the machines. And they will then generate fear about that being their entire job. That's not true. Most of their job, the 80% of the job, is in 20% of what they do. That's where their value is, and that's what they need to focus on. People need help with that. Define your expected outcomes against those objectives. And again, basic. Look at quality, look at accuracy. Cost is way down the wire. Obviously the normal investment. And here's the interesting thing. Technology is last. As a vendor, we produce technology. I want you to buy my technology. But in a business case, it's last. You need to consider what technology you're buying at the end of that evaluation, not at the beginning. As KPMG have often said, people commit random acts of automation. They take technologies, intelligent technologies, dumb technologies, they buy them and then try and work out what to do with them. Technology first approach will lead you to failure. Hopefully in this session we've given you enough information to stimulate your thought process in the right direction about how to think about the ROI you're going to get from AI, and also considering how AI can't be separated from automation in the business context. Automation is the infrastructure on which AI is deployed. So if you want to achieve your ROI, not upset your CFO, make sure you're using intelligent automation together. This has obviously been a high-level flyby of a lot of deep research, knowledge, methodologies, and strategies that we have as an organisation. I'd encourage you to come and talk to us, whether or not you're a Cortex customer. We're very happy to share. We want to see AI being very, very successful.
Thanks, Jonathan. That was really interesting. I'm sure will be very useful to a lot of business leaders looking to build their business case for AI. As per our last speaker, Jonathan will be available in the chat room to answer your questions. You can also visit the Cortex booth in our virtual exhibition hall. Click on their booth to access some further information on their work with AI, including some insightful videos on virtual agents, intelligence automation adoption, and exception handling.